Welcome to this edition of Soul of Warren County. I'm your host, Mickey Gwynn. It's always good to have someone on the show that's traveled many different roads, and one of those roads led to Warren County, Tennessee. Someone who's had multiple career paths, and someone who has a very diverse background. Well, today I have someone who checks all of those boxes. It's my pleasure to welcome Chef Frank Horton. Chef, welcome to Soul of Warren County.
Thank you very much.
We always like to start off the show with a little trip down memory lane and have our guests tell us about themselves. And as we say down south, you ain't from here.
That is.
Tell us a little bit about your history and your background.
Okay. Well, I'm Chef Frank Horton. People just call me Chef. Well, coming to McMinnville, it's a long road from where I come from. But I was born into a military family, what they call a military brat.
Oh, yeah.
So I've traveled all over. Started out, I was born in California, Beale Air Force Base, California.
Oh, yeah.
My biological mother was military. My biological father was too, but so I was adopted.
Oh.
A lot of people don't know this story, but I was adopted by my uncle and aunt. So my biological mother's brother adopted me. And no offense to my biological parents, I love them both. But to me, my mom and dad is her brother and her sister-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Melon and Lucy Horton is my mom and dad to me.
Okay.
And it's a little different because they're both white. My biological mother was white. So that's a different perspective too, because I was adopted by them, and a lot of my childhood started out in South Carolina. And in the late 70s, 80s, a lot of the 80s and even up to the 90s, it was still South Carolina. If you've never been there, it's deep South.
Right. Right.
So it was predominantly black where we lived in Sumter, South Carolina. I didn't fit in with the black kids because I acted too white, whatever that means.
Right.
And I didn't fit in with the white kids because I looked black.
Right.
So I had a little rough childhood growing up trying to fit in, find my place. Mm-hmm. And we've been to other places too, but the three main places growing up was South Carolina, predominantly black, then Virginia, which was mixed, you know. I fit right in the middle. Mm-hmm. And then Indiana is where I graduated high school, Newcastle, Indiana, and that's predominantly white. So I went from predominantly black to the mid-range, Virginia, East Coast, and then Indiana, you know, so I have that background of being all over. Mm-hmm. And growing up as a mixed child, and even in the late 70s and the 80s, was a little hard for me because I didn't fit in. Like I said, I acted too white, mm-hmm. or I was too black. And then I joined the military. So when I joined the military, I went all over. Mm-hmm. My parents, when they retired and everything, they moved to Dixon, Tennessee.
Okay. Know where that's
All right. So they moved to Dixon, Tennessee, and finally, after 13 years total in the military, and we can talk more about military career later, I moved to Dixon, Tennessee to figure out what I wanted to do, and I wanted to go to college. So I went to Dixon, Tennessee, and went to the Art Institute of Nashville when it was open. And so from Dixon, my cousin worked from home, and she wanted to move away. And I said, you know what, I can do that. I had a high school teaching job at that time in Nashville, and I can drive until I find something. Because at that time, I said I was done with high school. Because teaching at Metro was different than teaching here at Warren County.
I imagine so.
So I said, I'm done. So she was looking, and my sister used to live in Baxter, Baxter, Tennessee, right up the road. And so she said, what about Smithville? So we moved to Smithville. I started teaching and opened a program at TCAP McMinnville before they closed that program. And then Smithville, and then started driving to Warren County. And then moved here last year. I've been around the area,
Right.
but moved to Warren County itself last year and made it my home. So that's a little snippet on how I made it to Warren County.
And, we talked before about, our Air Force careers. I made a career out of the Air Force, and we talked about that too. I want to go back a little bit. You were talking about your early years and growing up
Okay.
and being a mixed child. And a lot of people probably don't understand what challenges that brings.
Okay.
And especially, I'm sure, depending on where you are at the time. Did you feel during that time that you had to make a choice? I mean, I need to either be black or I need to be white, or did you just felt like it doesn't matter? I'm just trying to fit in, but I'm just sort of having a little bit of problem. Those other kids accepting me. Now it ain't me, it's them, kind of thing.
Well, that's a hard thing to really get into, because my childhood, granted, I had great parents growing up. It was a little rougher at one time, because acting out, didn't know where to fit in.
Right.
Like you said, they moved me to Indiana to my grandpa's, stay over summer a little bit. But growing up, it was a little different. It's a struggle. And I think I played, like, you could probably make a movie of my life. I kind of played a chameleon. Mm-hmm. I fit in where I fit in. I can be that person depending on where situation I'm in. Okay. I'm a chameleon where I can fit in.
Okay.
So I think I kind of played both roles. And then I got to a point where let's just be me. Because I think, and my mom will tell me if I'm wrong or not, I think at one time when I was a child, I got in a fight because somebody said I was black, and I swore up and down I'm white, because that's what I knew.
Right.
And I got in a fight with this person, saying I'm white, knowing good and well my skin color is different than everybody else's that I was around. But I think I played both roles.
Depending on sort of the situation
that I was
in. Yeah. And at a young age, that's pretty admirable, because some people, I think as you get older, a good friend of mine always had this discussion about, and you probably heard this in the military, about playing the game.
Yes.
And there was always people say, I'm not playing the games, I'm not playing the games. And I've always had this theory of, if you don't play the games will play you. And what I'm saying is, you just got to be aware of situations. And I think what you just described is probably sort of a coping mechanism that you probably had, was I got to fit the situation, and sometimes that may take me out of what might be my normal persona and things of that nature. So I can understand that. As a military brat, and like I say, my kids are military brats because we traveled around quite a bit too, I've always found that they had a different perspective on sort of life and things by being that they moved around a lot. I know it was tough at times when I was posted in D.C., my last assignment. They were sophomores in high school. So I was going to go by myself, leave them in school back in Illinois. And, my wife said, no, we always have gone as a family. We're going to go, to D.C. as a family. Do you think moving around helped you in grasping sort of life a little bit better than some of the people that, I know people who've, born in a town, lived in a town, and died in that same town. You think that helped you?
I think, depending on the person, I think it does. I think it broadens your scope of the world. You're not stuck into, probably a rut is not the word I'm looking for, but into a norm. Mm-hmm. I think it did help. For me, like I said, the chameleon, and now that I think about it and you bring this up, I guess I am really a chameleon, because it was easy for me, even being mixed, even with the issues of acting too white or being too black, I could fit in. Now my sisters, they had a little more issue, meeting friends and stuff like that. Not as simple as it was for me. So I think with my background and then moving around, I take things on the chin more easily, like a boxer. So.
Okay. Yeah, and I would think that kind of background and that upbringing would probably make you a little tougher in some ways than other kids that haven't had to experience that. At what point, well, let's talk a little bit about your military career, your Air Force career. What was your FSC? What did you do in the Air Force?
Okay, my FSC, which most people, my career started out as 2SO, which is supply.
Okay.
I was in supply, pickup and delivery, storage and issue, all the parts of supply. Then I went to transportation, 2TO.
Okay.
TMO, traffic management. Worked loading trucks, a little bit of the aircraft parts store, stuff like that.
Okay.
Then another career was it's a U8, but UDM, Unit Deployment Manager, which how I describe it to people, more like HR. Mm-hmm. I did all the security clearances for the unit, stuff like that, deployment. So I was just the unit deployment manager and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I had 3 career jobs there too. So.
Yeah. Those kind of terms and acronym bring back memories. TMO. I remember TMO. Whenever you PCS, you had to go to TMO to out process. If you're going somewhere with your household goods and your whole baggage, I still remember those kind of things. Interesting. You probably understand this more than some of our audience out there. But when we were stationed in England, going overseas, you had, like I say, your whole baggage. It went with you pretty much. And then you had your non-temporary storage, which stayed back stateside till you PCS back. Then they will get it. So we were there, and my family couldn't go with me there either. I had to find a house first. So got to England by myself. Finally found a house, and I went to TMO and said, "Hey, ready to bring all our household goods." That was the one that was coming over. Need to get all our household goods here. Okay, no problem. So we waited about, I guess, 2 months for it to show up. And the truck pulls up in the front of our house and starts to unload our goods, and there's things coming off the truck that I knew should not be there. Like in England, they had different voltage and they had different plugs. Here comes the TV that we left, and a grill and things of that nature. And I go out and I say, wait a minute. This is not what should be here in our household good. This should be our non-temporary store that stayed stateside. So they go back and they call TMO. They say, oh, we made a mistake. We sent the wrong goods over. Yeah. So I said, no problem. I said, how long will it take you to get our household goods here, the stuff that we're expecting? And they said, oh, probably 3 or 4 more months. And I said, 3 or 4 more months, because this time I'm a little upset, right? We've been waiting already a couple of months, and now they're saying 3 or 4 more months. So I go in, and I think I was a tech sergeant. I wouldn't have much rank back then. I'm like, yeah, I want to talk to somebody about this. Y'all, sent the wrong stuff over here, and now you're telling us we got to wait another 3 or 4 more months. And they sent me in to talk to this senior master sergeant. He said, Sergeant, let me tell you, the only way we're going to get it here quicker is we got to put it on a C5. We don't put the colonel stuff on a C5, so you ain't putting yours on there. So I was like, okay, I guess we'll wait 2 or 3 months for it to get there. And it did finally arrive. But I remember when you said TMO. I remember that very well.
Matter of fact, you speak of that. My last job, my last station was Colorado Springs.
Okay.
I was JPSO, which is Joint Personal Proper Shipping Office.
Right.
So and I manned the phone. I was at a call center and dealing with people's household goods. I got those calls all day long. And I let other people get so upset. At the end of the day, I let them vent. It's their household goods. I get it.
Yeah.
But at the end, sorry, Sergeant, sorry, ma'am, sorry, sir. You're not getting your stuff.
Yeah.
It's just,
That's just the way
I
it
let
is.
them vent because that's what you need to do. So, but yeah, I know what you're saying 100%.
Yeah, been through that. And I guess probably if somebody was just listening to the program, they'd say, oh, so he wasn't a chef in the Air Force. You were not a chef. Did you have any inklings that you would go into culinary arts at that point?
Actually, no, I did not. Really, in high school, for a little bit, I worked at Wendy's.
Right.
Okay. And I love food. I love cooking and creating stuff. But really, no, not till I got out of the military and said, what do I want to do with this college degree? My first college degree, because I have a couple of
Right.
them. My first college degree. And I said, well, let's go try culinary. And then I just flew with it. I loved it. Went to school, started working for people in Nashville, restaurants and stuff like that, and fell in love with it. So, no, it's not something, I've been doing it for a while now, but it wasn't something I did in the military. And that's what messes with people's minds a lot, because they think I was a chef. But no, did everything but chef.
Yeah. And it's interesting, while I was in, they started to have competition between the services on culinary arts and things of that nature. Back, when I first came in, it was like you had the folks that would man the dining halls and places like that. And when we deployed, they would deploy their field kitchens and they would cook a meal for us, at least one meal while we were out in the field and things of that nature. But they started to have really good competitions, and they would send some of the military people to school to become actual chefs. And I must admit, the quality of the food in the Air Force, at least, got a whole lot better as time went on.
Even when I started, the chow hall is ran by civilians, which is fine.
Right.
And the food was a lot like what you would remember school cafeteria food.
Yes.
More of nutritional over taste.
Right.
Yeah, towards the end, because that's a lot of people. They always ask me, people that were in the military, you weren't in services, because services,
That's where.
But when they started doing that, the chow hall food, what we called the DFAC, the dining facility, was outstanding.
Yeah.
Towards the end there, it was.
It was really good. I know, as you get up in rank and things of that nature, they start, sort of shying you away from the dining hall. And I always enjoyed it. So they would let us go, and I think we could go to the dining hall on a certain day of the week as people that were on separate rations, as we call it. They didn't give you a meal card and things of that nature. And I would go. I enjoyed the food. I mean, you couldn't beat the prices, even though we had to pay, for what we ate. You couldn't beat the prices. And the food was good. And they started to get more into, what's it called? Not appearance, but the way the food is presented.
Yes.
Yeah.
They really did. And when I don't want to tell you wrong, probably my last deployment or something, overseas, Saudi Arabia, and then the DFAC there, once a month, every month, I think it was on a Monday or whenever it was, they did birthday meal. So if your birthday was in that month, you go. And it was steak and lobster. I tried to sneak in a couple birthday months. It was steak and lobster, and it was seasoned well. It was really done nice.
Yeah.
And so my birthday was almost every other month. So
weren't you just having a birthday? Oh no, that wasn't me. Yeah, I can imagine so. So when you got into the culinary arts, you just really loved it.
I fell in love with it. Now there was moments because a lot of the celebrity chefs that we see on TV, some are great chefs.
Right.
But what they portray, they don't show you everything that goes into being a chef. Like these kids, they think, because they see these celebrity chefs, this is what I'm going to do. There was late nights. There's a lot of on your legs. As I'm getting older, and that's why I kind of steered towards teaching. That's a funny story too. We can talk about how I fell into teaching.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah.
So how I fell into teaching, but standing on your feet for hours, working late, and depending on the restaurant, the numbers that you're putting out, it puts a toll on you. And I still loved it. Would I really open a restaurant now? Probably not. But there's a love there.
You mentioned earlier about doing work for celebrities and things of that nature. How do you manage that? Well, I know this particular dish should be cooked this way, versus, well, no, they want this particular style, or, I mean, I'm sure you have to be mindful of whoever you're catering for, their personal desires.
And that's really anybody that you're cooking for. You want to think about like Warren County, like where they're at too. There's certain places I can't cook with a lot of spice that I would want to.
Right.
Like I like a lot of Creole and Cajun spices. I can't cook that everywhere.
Right.
So you have to have that mindset as a chef. And it made it easier when I did events and caterings and private chef, because I worked for somebody that controlled the people themselves, talking to the famous people, the special people that we had, the guests. So I just did what he told me to do as the owner and the executive chef. So I didn't have to deal with it as much, but you have to keep a mindset that ultimately they're paying for the food. Now I get upset. I used to get upset. Like I worked for a couple places. Yes, we can make chicken tenders. There's no issue with that. But I shouldn't have to have, and people are going to get upset with me, but I shouldn't have to have a kid's menu. It boils down to how you raise a child. Not every child's going to like everything. I get that. Chicken nuggets is a staple. Right. I love chicken nuggets still to this day. But if you broaden their spectrum of it, you don't have to necessarily have a kid's menu. We can find something on the menu that the kid can eat, or I can make up chicken nuggets. So you got to be able to work around dealing with people. And like one thing, like I have family members, before they even taste the food, salt and pepper. I'm a chef. I know how to season my food.
I'll raise my hand.
So I know how and I used to get upset, like there's some restaurants, they do not put salt and pepper on the table. Because we're chefs, we know how to season our food.
Right.
Then I started thinking about it. Everybody's palate's different. So you have to be open. You have to be able to change. And that's the biggest thing. If you're not willing to change, a chef is not really the job, because you really, the ultimate goal is to please that customer.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And you're just like my wife. My wife is a typical Southern cook. And she used to get mad with me all the time because I did the same thing. You know, she would bring the food, cook the food, I'd fix my plate, sit down, and first thing, salt and pepper. And she'd say, you haven't even tasted it. You haven't even tasted it. How do you know it needs salt and pepper? And at that point, my wife was using a lot of salt on our food, so I definitely didn't put it. But it was. She said, I think you got a mental block that says if you don't put salt and pepper on it, it's just not going to taste right. So she just stopped getting on me about that. But I even saw that trend in the military. Going back to the military, some of the dining halls that I frequented when I was a young airman and thing had a lot of Southern black cooks, and they used a lot of seasoning. But I could tell as time went on, when they started bringing in dietitians and people of that nature into the dining halls, that started to go away. You know, the concept was more of a, don't put as much salt and those kind of things in the food. Let the individual person season at the table kind of thing if they think it needs more kind of seasoning things that way. And I saw that trend change also while I was in the military when it came to things like that. But yeah, I think that's just a difference in people's personality and things of that nature. I just grab the salt and pepper. I don't care.
And that's what I try to tell my students too. And I try to get them into this mindset. I love salt too.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I like putting salt on a lot of stuff. I like ketchup. I like hot sauce.
Right.
I like steak sauce. But you got to taste it first. The problem with salt, pepper, ketchup, A1 sauce, all those stuff, that's what you're tasting. You're taking away. You want whatever is the star.
Yeah.
If I have a piece of chicken, that chicken should be the star, not this sauce that I'm putting on it, the hot sauce that I'm putting on it. Granted, I love hot sauce.
Right.
But there's sometimes, you have to let whatever you're eating shine.
Yeah, and you just bring up a good point. My wife tells people all the time, Mickey doesn't like the food as much as he likes the condiments. That's what she tells me that, and it was a funny story. We were at a steakhouse in Murfreesboro with my daughter, and she ordered a steak. She ordered a steak. The waiter came by and said, hey, can I get you anything? And she said, can you bring the A1 sauce? And he stopped and he looked at her and he said just what you said. Have you tasted the steak? And my daughter said, no, but I know I'm on the A1 sauce. And he just sort of turned around and left. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've gotten into that mindset some to where we just think it needs it regardless. Mm-hmm. But as you say, you're not tasting that good steak. You're tasting the A1 sauce more than you are the steak. So
And a way around that is, honestly, you want something on there. It's usually our mindset, but I do love the way steak sauce tastes. Mm. But just a dab of butter on a steak brings out that steak and it gives it a little something for sauciness. Mm-hmm. But butter will make it shine. So
yeah, and I like butter too. I'm one of those fans too. You mentioned teaching in high school in Nashville. What did you teach?
Culinary arts.
Okay, you were doing a culinary arts program in Nashville too. Okay.
So teaching. So when I went to the Art Institute, I went there for 3 years. I started in 2009 when I got out of the military, graduated in 2012. At that time, I also worked at the college in the storeroom to get, because I know supply and storage.
Sure, yeah.
And to get more acclimated to the products that we were using in class. I worked as a student worker in the storeroom. So a lot of the chefs and the instructors there, I got to know. And I started working for my mentor, which was one of my instructors, but he was also the executive chef and co-owner of a place down in Nashville. And love Chef Lucky to death. Mm-hmm. And I worked for him. And then my other mentor, which was the dean of culinary at the Art Institute, said, hey, I know your goal was down the line to teach, but this was just a couple months after I graduated. This was 2012. Okay. He said, I have an instructor job here at the college. Do you want to come teach? And I was like, well, that's my goal sometime to teach. And I said, I don't know, though. I just graduated. Do I have enough experience?
Right.
They thought I did, I guess. So I started teaching college first at the Art Institute.
Oh, okay.
And I taught there part-time as an adjunct all the way till 2018, I believe, was when they closed it. So about 2017, one of my buddies that was also a college instructor part-time, a job came up for one of the metro high schools. I said, I think you'd be good at that. How about you come over, fill out an application, do that. Mm-hmm. So I fell into high school teaching through a buddy, and I loved it for the first part.
Okay.
Metro is a little different. Big city is a little different, and I don't think everybody always understands what teachers go through. It's a mental game.
I'm sure.
I'm going to put myself out there. I'm a grown man. There's times I wanted to go home and cry.
Oh, wow.
After school. It's mentally draining. It's not the physical work.
Right.
It's mentally draining. And then seeing what these students go through and then sometimes not getting back up from admin or whatever. So I taught there 3 years, I believe. Well, 2017, I started halfway during the school year.
Okay.
Same as Warren County. I started halfway during the school year, then taught the whole next year and the next year. And then my license thing, there were some issues there. So I said, well, I'm not, and I got the opportunity at TCAP, and I said, I'm not teaching high school ever again. But regardless of what everybody believes or whatever it is, I believe God has something different for me because I try to get a job in a whole bunch of different areas.
Okay.
Restaurants, which I could do that, but I was getting burned out of it. I tried even going back to storage and trucking companies, to colleges. And the only thing I got was TCAP McMinnville, which opened the door with Miss Reisinger at CTE here at Warren County, which got me my job here halfway through. When did I start there? So the freshmen that I had are seniors now. So this is year number 4.
Okay.
So this is year number 4 here at Warren County High School, and I love it. And I'm glad, looking back, I'm glad I couldn't get a job nowhere else. Because this is what I think I'm good for the kids. I think this is where I'm supposed to be. So I love it now. But yeah, there for a while, I was burnt out of it. And I said, I'll never teach high school ever again. And look at me now.
Yeah, you just never know. You just never know. You compared to TCAT, do the students that you, especially the freshmen, are they more of a blank slate when they walk through the door versus maybe some of your TCAT student being a little bit, maybe they've done this a little bit before, they've worked in restaurants before, or are both groups pretty much blank slates when they walk into class?
Yes and no. And the reason why I say that, I think when you're teaching any kind of college, they come in with a somewhat understanding, because usually they pick that because they thought about it.
Right.
Freshmen usually pick it because they think they're just going to eat or it's going to be fun.
Right.
That's usually what they're thinking is. So I think they're a blank slate. Although I get some sophomores and juniors that pick culinary 1 and start out, and some of them have cooking jobs, so they kind of get it.
Okay.
But also on the college level too, I kind of think of them as blank slates, because what they really know isn't what they really know.
No.
Because working in these big chains or working fast food, like I tell my freshmen, I don't care if they don't ever want to be a chef. This teaches them life skills. But what I'm preparing them for is something beyond fast food and big chains. And nothing against them, we need those.
Oh, sure,
and they'll
sure.
always be around,
Right.
because most people won't, if you're visiting, say you're visiting Warren County, most people won't visit mom and pops. They're going to visit what they know because it's consistent. We need those. So I'm not bad mouthing that at all. We need those. But I'm trying to teach them a different level, up higher, presentation. Because believe it or not, we eat with our eyes first. A lot of times, if it looks disgusting, most people aren't putting it in their mouth.
Right.
So I kind of see them as a blank slate in the aspect of what I'm trying to teach them, but they kind of already know a little bit. So.
And that's sort of something they think they might want to do.
Yes.
So they're a little bit more receptive to your teaching and things of that nature. Yeah.
And like I tell my freshmen, even if they don't ever want to do this, we just did measuring not too long ago. We did measuring. And I said, well, let's think about this for a second. Even if you never want to be a chef, let's say somebody wants to be a cosmetologist, you have to know how much hair dye. So you have to measure this stuff out, or you're going to mess up people's hair and you're going to mess up your business. Construction worker, you have to know this math. Like, chef, why are you trying to teach us math? This is culinary. Well, there's a science behind it. And I'm trying to teach them beyond culinary, and I'm trying to teach them life skills. Also, if they go to college, they have to fend for themselves one day. Ramen noodles is a big thing in college students' life, and I love it. And I used to do a challenge, and I did it at TCAT also. I used to do a challenge, and I try to do it at high school every once in a while. Buy a whole bunch of ramen noodles, I take the packet out. That seasoned packet I take out. There's so much stuff you can create with that. And it costs, well, it might be different now, but it costs what, 76 cents or less for a pack. And you usually have condiments and stuff. You can make spaghetti with that. You can make so much more. And that's what I tried to do. So I treat everybody as a blank slate, because I'm trying to build upon like they don't know nothing, and not in a bad way.
Right,
I want
right.
them to understand that, oh, maybe I need to know this. Just like and I love doing when you work with somebody else outside of your career or your scope. Like an English teacher asked me, can you give me 5 recipes, because they're doing some project,
Right.
that all adults should know? And I love that question. I love that thinking, because there are some things that every adult should know. And just to give you an example, a couple of things I put on there was eggs, and I put scrambled egg recipe. A roast meat, and I did roast chicken as the recipe. Mm-hmm. And then a dessert. Those are 3 of the things that I think every adult should know
Right.
how to make at least something. So that's a little about my, and when I talk about teaching, sometimes you can see and feel that passion's there.
Yeah,
And that's what I love. I love going beyond. Yes, I teach culinary, but what I think I'm teaching is life skills. The students getting life skills and someone they can talk to and say, hey, chef, what is this really used for? And I'm going to tell them, so.
Yeah, and I could tell that when I was over there and first met you, when I came over to speak to the Black Student Union. The first time I met you, I could tell the interaction you were having with the students and everything. I could tell that connection was there. But you don't only teach the culinary arts. You got a lot of different hats that you wear. Tell us about the other responsibilities you got at the high school.
Okay, so I have culinary arts, and then also I'm one of the advisors for FCCLA, Community and Career Leaders of America. It's based more of child care and culinary. It's a statewide, it's a nationwide actually. Mm-hmm. So I work with them. We do competitions, like state competitions, and it's not just culinary, and that's what I love about FCC. It's actually family, community, career leaders of America, and I could be wrong because my brain's just going 100 miles an hour. But so it's so much more. There's opportunities for them to compete in food innovations where they have to do research and come up with a new product. Mm-hmm. Interpersonal communication, like a lot of times I see, and that's what I teach my students with phones, is restraint, because they want that text. Yeah. They don't do this anymore. So that kind of stuff. Also, Black Student Union, mm-hmm. one of the advisors with Ms. Cassani. I love that organization, and I think there's a lot of pushback because not everybody understands what it is. Mm-hmm. And you've been to some of our things. Right. It's not just about Black or colored students. We have Hispanics. Right. We have whites, Caucasians. We know it's about bringing us all together and where we stand, and also someone they can come to and relate to, because you can't relate to every teacher. And I think after some of them hear my beginning story, they'll kind of understand that I really do know what they're going through, you know, because there's sometimes, and even in Warren County, you don't fit in with certain groups because you act a certain way or you look a certain way. So I love that opportunity. And we can talk more. I know it's on Talking Point about the Black Student Union and upcoming events. Mm-hmm. But also this year, I started helping assistant coach with cross country. Loved that. Mm-hmm. I'm more of and same with tennis, and Coach Jackson will tell you the same. I know the fundamentals of tennis, but he's more the practice coach as you go beyond, practice coach. I'm more of the athlete first. And not saying he loves the athletes also just as much, but I'm going to ask you, because I had an athlete last year, and this is the best card I've ever got. At the end of the year, senior, said, what I thank you most for, and I won't get it verbatim, is for after the match, you didn't tell me what I did wrong or did right. You asked, how did I feel about the match? And that's what I think is all. I think every coach, we want you to feel, what did you do wrong? I can sit here all day and tell you what you did wrong.
Right, right.
And that's how I look at coaching. I'm more of the cheerleader. I have your back, but I'm also going to teach you what you need to do right. And that goes same with culinary. There's times I spit out food, and I'm going to tell you it's gross, but I'm going to tell you how to fix it. And the reason why I'm not nice, and I have seen culinary instructors at college, high school level, sugarcoat stuff. If they do go into this business, customers aren't going to sugarcoat it. They're going to go tell their buddies, that's the worst food I've ever had. So why would I sugarcoat it? And that's how I take coaching to, it's more about how do you feel about what you just did. So I got cross country, tennis, FCCLA, Black Student Union, and I try, and it's a little easier for me because I'm single.
Right.
I try to go to every event. It surprises people, but sometimes my students just want to see me there. Just seeing me there for a minute, I might not stay for the whole game, but I almost go to every event if I can to support Warren County.
Yeah.
To let them know that somebody here cares for them 100%. So I go to events. Like my first year here at Warren County, I had a senior that was in a rock band, little garage band like we have, and they had a gig in Smithville. So, and I lived there too at that time, so it was a little easier, but he asked me, and if I'm not busy, I'm gonna go. I'm not really into that heavy rock, you know. And as I walked up, the person taking the tickets was his mother and says, "Did you really come out here to see him?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" He said, "Well, come backstage where you can see that he can see that you're here." I said, "Well, he's getting ready." No. So I went backstage. It's the little things like that.
Yeah.
And I take that across the board, sports, everything. If I can make it, I'm going to try to be there. So, yeah, I have my hats in a lot of things.
Yeah, I tell you.
I like to, like the Multicultural Club, they do events and they do the talent show, and I MC it, MC'd. I think this will be year number 3 to be the MC. It might be year number 4, but I've done the MC stuff like that. I like to be involved.
I can tell, yeah, you like to be involved, yeah.
I like to be involved, and just like this. Well, that's about to stop. The school dances, I like going to that, supporting them, and they talk me into doing my famous. Well, it may not be famous, but my splits.
Right.
And at one time, I could jump up and land in them.
Right.
And I've done them forever at family get-togethers when we used, at Christmas time, sing the most famous Christmas song of all time, the Mariah Carey that we all love, and I land in the splits.
All right.
And always done that. This last time is probably the last time. I'm not as young as I used to be.
I know what you mean.
I hurt my knee, and
wow.
it was but that's the kind of stuff I love to do. I don't mind making a fool of myself if it's getting them engaged. And when I say make a fool of myself, that's what some adults think is happening when you do that, but it's really not.
They don't see the other benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do. Like, I'm friendly with my students, but they know that line, and that's what you have to have. You got to be there for them and be close to them, but you're not their buddy.
Yeah.
And sometimes people mistake my closeness for the buddiness. It's not really about that. Like, still, even ones that are real friendly to me, it's chef outside. Hey, chef, So they know that. And the same goes with the military. Because we had fraternization,
Oh, sure.
You got to know that line,
Yeah. Me and my daughter were talking about that a couple of weeks ago about she was having some issues with some of her workers, and a couple of them in particular had a hard time separating. We go out and we go to a place or dinner or something of that nature, and then they come back to work, and it's almost like, well, that's my buddy. She has to remind, no, I'm your boss. I'm your supervisor. when we go out to eat, yeah, that's a whole different environment. And that's the way it was in the military. And I told her, I said, well, a couple of my friends now that they know, we would go out together, and but when we got back to work, it was no Mickey, it was Chief, so it all, you had to have those kind of people. Some people couldn't handle that.
Yes.
There were some people who couldn't make that division between out sociably. Now when we come to work, it's work now, and all that's out the window. So I can understand what you're saying like that. But like you say, the main thing is the life skills. And sometimes you can't have a blueprint for every child and I say child, that you touch. That, well, you got to be just this way. This is how teachers should act and things of that nature. And as I say, when I saw you for the first time, I could tell that connection you had with your kids. I could see that. Tell us about that Black Student Union event that's coming up.
Okay, so we started last year what we call the Young Bucks versus the Old Heads basketball game.
Right.
What we're trying to do is build that gap, bridge that gap between the community, teachers, and the students. Because sometimes students don't understand that we know where they come from. All right, and getting that community involved where they understand that regardless of what they want to think, teachers, we're doing the best with what we can.
Right.
And we do love these children. There again, children, but these students.
Right.
We love these students, and we want the best for them. So bringing this basketball game together, and last year was the first year, and it started out basketball game where we had the adults that wanted to pay. That way the students didn't have to, and the students could be involved. And I think for the first one, it was a good turnout.
I was there. Yeah, it was.
And
a good game.
And I think everybody had fun. And
Yeah.
by the way, the Old Heads won.
Yes,
And I went 3 for 3, but that's besides the point. And I think they had fun. I think the students had fun, the community had fun. We had people come watch, which they can come watch. It was at the gym there at the school, and it was a great time. This year, it's a little bit earlier. It's going to be February 3rd.
Okay.
And we're making it a little bit bigger. We're going to make it like an all-star weekend, but not a whole weekend, like the NBA All-Star Weekend where they have three-point contests.
Right.
And I'm trying to get where we can get the younger generation, maybe middle school, because they look at some of these athletes, high school athletes, as already they made it.
Right.
They're already superstars. So if we can pair them with, like we have one teacher or one outside influence adult, one high school student, and one younger generation, doing like a skill challenge together.
Oh, okay.
Like when they do WNBA, NBA, and I think maybe a college star together when they do those challenges on a team. And I think that, but right now we do have the Old Heads versus the Young Bucks. That'll be the big thing at the nighttime.
Okay.
And we're looking, this is not set in stone yet, but 12 starting at noon, doing three-point contests, having different things involved in that. And then the end thing be like the All-Star game. It'll be the Old Heads, which will make up of people of the community. We had quite a few, I think, off the top of my head, 8 from the community, from the Black History Museum, from other workers, construction workers from other businesses that have students go there that are part of this community. We had teachers that played, and then the students. And of course, at that time, we're in the middle of basketball season, so the basketball players couldn't really be involved. And that's understandable because I could not play when you're in season. But they reffed. We had a couple that did the reffing. We had a couple that coached both teams. So I think it's a great thing, and I'm looking for it to be bigger. I'm excited because I think bridging that gap where we're all together. And so I'm excited for that basketball game. So it's the Old Heads versus the Young Bucks.
February 3rd.
February 3rd. And I believe we did win the trophy. And I believe the trophy, the basketball that is signed and a photo is at the Black History Museum. So I think that's building that, bridging that gap again. So now it's seen out in the community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity.
I think it was a great thing. I really enjoyed it last year. Wrap things up. What does the future hold for Chef Frank Horton?
Oh my goodness. See, that's a loaded question. Like I said earlier, the chameleon that I am, I go with the foe. I think the future holds until something changes. I'm still going to have that even on the days that I don't want to teach high school. I think I still have that passion that I can only get better. You know, learn from some of the older is not the word, the more mature and seasoned teachers on how they handle the longevity of it, along with the principles that I have guiding me on, you know, which way to go and being myself. I think the future is bright for Chef, no matter what he's doing, no matter what he's part of, Black Student Union. And it's really not about me, it's about the students. And I think we have great students here at Warren County. So I think the future is looking bright because I think, and this is going to sound cocky, I think these students need me and I need these students because I do love this job. So I think the future is bright.
I think so too. And I know they appreciate you, and I can tell the passion you have for them. We need teachers. We need teachers in general, and we need teachers like Chef.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you for coming in. I appreciate it, and thanks for what you're doing to groom that future leaders for our country. I really appreciate it.
And I appreciate this opportunity.
And thank you for joining us today. Please join us for the next edition of Soul of Warren County. Until then, make this day and every day a great day.